What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Javier and this is Fast TV. Today we're going to be working on the J-Swap NSX. So basic things we're going to be doing today is we're going to throw the water pump, timing belt, and we're going to be modifying the cam gear today. So on your J series, if you notice, it has two pickups on the cam position. So there's your markers right there. It'll actually read all these for the factory ECU would need those. We're not running a factory ECU though. We're going to be running AM Infinity. So all I really need is one of these guys. So the other three, I'm just going to shave them off and replace it on there. I will use the same magnetic pickup that's on there. Although we have two of them, we're only going to use one. And now I have another one I can use at some point in time if I need it. But these normally you would need if you're running like AM EMS V2. That's made for the J series. You would leave this alone, you wouldn't have to modify it. But because I am going to be using AM Infinity and I'm setting my timing a 12-to-1 ratio, 12 on the crank, 1 on the cam, so I need to grind these guys off, and then I'll have to actually set this on the tune to let it know if it's on rising or falling of the single pickup. So guys, this is what we're going to be working on today. Timing belt, water pump. As far as gaskets, on this particular engine, they were actually pretty good. Granted, that being said, on any engine you build or put together, you should replace all your gaskets. But this is not the final engine that's going to be living in the NSX. I'm using this engine basically as a starting point, and I have another J32 A2 that we're going to be modifying for a lot of boost. So that being said, we just want to get this guy up and running, driving, get the little kinks out, make sure everything fits nice like I want it to aesthetically, looks well inside the engine compartment, and then we're gonna get on building that J32/J35 conversion. So guys, stay tuned. We're gonna go ahead and get started on this, all right? All right, so here's a couple of components that we're going to be using. Again, this particular engine, we're just putting it together to get the car up and running and the ECU set kind of where I want it to be. All the swap stuff that's kind of new to us on this. That's why I'm not using any high-end components on it. Now the built engine, it's going to have really nice OEM parts. The one thing I'm contemplating right now, whether I want to use my inexpensive belt or do I want to go ahead and put my Gates racing belt. I know that I'm gonna be wanting to get on this motor ever so often for the hell of it, so we are gonna go ahead and use the Gates racing belt instead of the cheapo no-name belt. Gasket doesn't matter, it's all basic gaskets. So water pump, timing accessories, tensioner, all that we got right now. So go ahead and get all that stuff taken off of this engine and swap over all the new shit. And here in a moment, Rob's actually going to go ahead and work on getting these pickups knocked out. So we have another gear that we're using off the other engine, and we'll just trade out later. We're going to use this one, number 3. So it uses this rear pickup there on the falling side, and that's what we're going to tune in the AM Infinity for it to read. And then, of course, our crank is a 12-point, so we don't have to worry about that. It's pretty easy. We'll also be able to use the stock crank position sensor for that, and it'll read off of there. So yeah, let me get to getting all this crap off and swapping over, and I'll be right back. Now normally you wouldn't put like any Honda bond on this, that's why the O-ring is there. But since this is not an OEM Honda part, then I know the fitment is possibly not 100%. I am gonna secure it and use a little bit of the gray RTV, similar to Honda bond. before I slap it on there. That is perfect. Yeah, it doesn't have to be, I mean, that's really good. That's what we want to just leave the one pickup. Now I'm not just tightening it with this, I'm actually going to put my wrench on it too. Oh, look at that. Beautimous. So there we go. Everything shaved off. You can see those are our pickups there. We're only going to be using one of the two. We're going to be using this one on a dropping signal. So, boom, there it is. Number threads. Now we did make sure that this was all TDC prior to selecting which one was going to be grinded off. If not, that would suck. And I'm just going to snug it there for now. We'll go ahead and actually torque that later on when I'm ready. Got everything put back together. Alright, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it, but here is our top dead center. There is the mark on the cam gear, and there's the mark that you want to line up with on the cover. So right there, top dead center, top dead center. Same thing over here. Top dead center, top dead center. We're a little off, and I just turned that by hand. I'll go ahead and rotate it when I get ready to put my belt. But we got our water pump on. We're gonna go ahead and put our tensioners, our idlers, and the part of the tensioner here, get that put together, and then we'll go ahead and start getting the belt routed. All right, we got our cam gear put back in place now. We got the water pump in place. Now we're gonna go ahead and do part of the tensioner and idler assembly. Now your new tensioners sometimes will not come with the guide, so you will have to remove it off the old one. I got big fingers, so that's not a problem. We'll just shove it in there, slide that sucker right out, and insert into the new one. You can see there. And then the front is already on here. I swapped it over earlier. And it uses a specific bolt. You see how it's tapered down twice? That secondary taper right here actually fits right inside that bevel. Keep it nice and tight. Then this back side will fit right onto the casing of your water pump, like so. Then when you tighten it together, you should hold it nice and firm. And again, just show you, those bolts are tapered, so it'll fit and center those bearings right in place. Yeah. All right. Now we're gonna go ahead and grab our belt and slap it on there and see how it goes. Like I said, I wasn't sure which belt to use, but I am gonna go ahead and throw in, just for good measure, we're gonna throw in our Gates Blue Racing belt, and here's the part number for the J series, J32s, J30, and I think 35, up to 2004. We'll use the same belt. And anyway, you guys can verify that if you want. This is what I got here. There's a pretty blue belt. Ta-da! It's on there. So, 1, battery died. 2, the keyway, which is a long-ass Woodruff key, left it at the house. So I had to drive my happy ass back about an hour plus and go get it. So, got that thrown on there. We got the timing belt ran through. Got our gear back on. Of course, new water pump and dampeners. And I got the tensioner set. Now, I haven't pulled a grenade pin on it yet. This little pin actually holds the tensioner in place. Just because I wanted to verify all my marks. TDC on this one here, TDC right here, and my TDC using the arrow on the casing there for the oil pump. So, but yeah, everything else looks pretty good. Should be all right. Don't real slack. This is a very tight belt. So let's see what happens here. and probably give it a couple rotations. I'll go ahead and pull it. Worst case scenario, if for some reason it was ever off timing, I gotta take it all apart and just recompress this tensioner again. You have to take it out, put it on a vise, pinch it down, and put the pin in and start with the process. But we're gonna go ahead and pull that pin off. Ooh, exploded. Yeah. All right, we'll probably put the crank pulley on there just to get a couple rotations to see what everything looks like. All right, guys, we went ahead and we ended up loosening the tensioner, take it all back apart, move everything up. So we got this guy at top dead center. We were able to get this guy top dead center and our crank to line up top dead center. We were 1 tooth off on this. Put it all back together, retightened that back up, got it set, and then went ahead and set our tensioner back in place, pulled the pin, let it tighten. We did 1 rotation on it and everything lined up perfectly. Normally it calls for more rotations than that, but for me that's good enough. It's there. We know we're TDC. This guy's going to do his job and tension any slack that might come from there. And yeah, so that part is not complete. I can start putting some of the plastics back on here, cover all this up, so we can go and put our crank pulley on there and verify some more things. So next, there's a part that needs to be notched from right around the bell housing on the motor for the front motor mount adapter. So right now, Rob's gonna go ahead and notch that out, show you where it's at. Right through here, it'll have to be notched out.
Rage on that beat, going crazy.
Alright guys, we're about to end our day on a good note. We were able to get all the timing components put in. We got our gates blue belt. We were able to get all covers on. I'm gonna go ahead and finish off putting the rest of the timing covers on this guy here, since we already verified that we are at TDC. And I did rotate the engine, everything's good. We went ahead, instead of boring you with other additional stuff, we went ahead and got the thermostat housing installed. Right here is where the EGR valve normally goes. Pull that EGR valve off because I would like to block it. If you know anything about the J-Series engines, you know that when you pull the valve covers off, you normally have one side that's really clean, another side's freaking filthy. Well, normally it's the PCV valve side. you get all this carbon buildup through the EGR, recycles it back into the intake manifold. See that port right there? Look at all the gunk. And then of course that all bakes onto this side. This side, because it's not vented, doesn't get all that gunk. It's super clean. This side, ugly and brown. If you go back to another one of my videos, you'll see when I started putting the heads together and replacing the valves, you'll see the difference between the two. But yeah, so we got the plenum and the lower plenums put on. Those are kind of a pain in the ass. It's like 5 bolts on this one, 4 bolts, 2 bolts and 2 nuts on this one. It's a pain in the ass, but currently we're gonna go ahead and reuse the same fuel rails on this engine. The boosted engine, we're gonna use a different regulator, different fuel rails, different injectors, of course. But for this particular engine right now, since we're gonna be running the stock J32 injectors, we're gonna keep all the lines the same. Here is our factory fuel regulator for the J32 and the return line for it, and the feed banjo right here. So all I have to do is we're gonna get a banjo line made to go from here, feed it through the plenum and out to the car. And then same thing with the return, we're gonna feed it underneath the plenum, come out the front of the engine there. So guys, like I said, we got thermostat housing put on, intake manifold, lower plenums are on, fuel rails are on, injectors are on, motor, transmission, mounts, front mount, rear mount. All we got left is this front, technically, side engine mount. We will take care of that when we get ready to install the car. We don't have to have it on the vehicle right now. It'll just be in my way, especially when I start doing those fuel lines. That's probably gonna wrap it up for today. I think what we'll do is on our next video, we're gonna go ahead and cover getting the engine dropped in. I have an extra set of valve covers off the other engine. I think I might try to get them powder coated or painted just to have them ready for after we install the motor. So I have something pretty to look under there. Same thing with our plenum. Right now, I got a couple intake plenums. I got my Type S plenum. I got a MDX throttle body. The reason I picked it up, it was a lot cleaner and better shape, and it had brand new sensors just replaced on it, TPS and out of the control valve, and they are OEM parts. So we're going to be using the MDX throttle body, which is the same as the Type S. Everything is the same. We're going to be using possibly the MDX spacer plenum. I would like to use it just to get the little extra torque, and we're actually going to be using the 3.5 MDX upper plenum because it has the longer horns. The horns on the Type S are about half the length. On the MDX, you can see they're a full 1.5 inch runners. So these are going to be a little bit better for us. It's going to definitely flow a lot better. As far as the IAB, I'm not sure if I'm going to lock it open or if I'm going to leave it closed and let it breathe that way. I might lock it open, that way I don't have to worry about trying to control it. Although on AM Infinity, it does have a stepper motor control, so I could still wire it up, run the wire, and let the stepper do it via RPM and load, however I want to set it up, or just leave it open. One less thing to worry about. There's other things to worry about, so I think I have other shit to worry about, like getting this thing running and driving and fucking tearing it up down the road. So yeah, guys, there it is. I'll just do a quick walkthrough. There's trans. There is one of the conversion mount pieces right here where your jack shaft goes into the motor. Should have seen that on the transmission and clutch install video. This guy I'm not worried about being broken because it's just a switch only on off RPM that from the AM Infinity that'll control my VTEC. And guys, that's another thing. Let me ask you. So I've been thinking, I don't know about if I'm gonna do it on this engine, but I might do it on the turbo engine. Should I lock out VTEC? Meaning I'm only gonna run just on the VTEC lobe. I almost feel like I should do that. Lock it out so it runs strictly on the VTEC lobe. That's one quick, easy tune. I don't have to deal with switching shit over, switching timing. I'm just running one cam profile. Very high, it's gonna be very aggressive idle. I think it'll sound pretty mean, especially with a turbo. Yeah, you know, tell you what, put it in the comments below. Tell me what you think. Should we go ahead and lock the VTEC on the motor that we're gonna be building? So, all right, guys. Well, I will see you on the next one. Peace out.